right, y'all, we back on the scene to pull the lesson out. This is Gaming Looks Good, episode number 20, and we're diving into the season finale of Life is Strange by Don't Nod Entertainment. Definitely one of my top games of 2015, and very interesting to look at from the lens of race, gender, and sexuality, which is where we look at all of our games here on Gaming Looks Good. And if you're interested in that kind of commentary, make sure to check us out at Gaming Looks Good on Twitter or at gaminglooksgood.com. You'll find all the YouTube videos and everything, so you could check us out. Also follow me at my personal account at Shareef Jackson. Speaking of which, I'm Shareef Jackson, broadcasting to y'all live out of Milwaukee, and I'm wearing my Star Trek shirt because I'm representing Worf. Trust me, I've seen The Force Awakens a few times, so I'm definitely in my Star Wars mode, but also got to get love to the Trekkies, because I'm not trying to forget, I really grew up on Star Trek more than Star Wars, so always try to keep that balance. That's the balance of the Force in my mind, is Trek versus Star Wars. But enough of that. Let's jump into our game here. And the first thing I really want to cover is who turns out to be the main antagonist, who is Mr. Jefferson. Really how creepy they make him, and really, like the question is, did they go too overboard and really make it seem a little too salacious for its own good? So let's jump into that part of the video.
Let me try this angle. Don't move! Stupid bitch!
Chloe and Rachel. You killed both of them.
They're fucking together in heaven right now. Is that what you want to hear?
Why? Why?
Why? Start listening to me, you dumb cunt. I'm sorry, Max.
Yeah, so as you can see, like, they really make him into a psychopath, which is really evident in the previous games. The last episode ended with him, shooting one of the other main characters in the head. But I still feel like they go really overboard with the cursing and sort of like the really kind of rapey view of taking the photos. So while he is a creep, and that's been really established by the time you go into this game, I still do think that they go a little overboard. And I think that it definitely, falls into line with his character, which is why I don't think it destroys the game. But I think you still could have had the same emotional impact of him being a villain without kind of like adding the stupid bitch and the dumb cunt and your friends are fucking in heaven. Like, it just seemed a little overboard, a little comic booky, and really kind of drew me out, from this game, which otherwise really had me in my feelings. So let's go into another part of the video, which really shows, which I think is a properly done death sequence. So let's check that out.
That was not cool. What?
David, watch out!
Time to shut the fuck up, okay?
Okay, so in that scene, like, you clearly messed up, and he basically kills you here. But unlike a lot of games like Tomb Raider and Dead Space, games that I like, but I feel like they almost kind of glorify the death scenes. I feel like if this same scene was in another game, they would have showed her actually getting hit, probably show all kinds of blood, have her gasping for her last breath. So I really do like it in this game how they don't do that, but it still feels rough. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though it goes into this black and white kind of hazy thing, I still felt the emotion of it, right? I do think that this is something that is very well executed. And I hope that more games treat their death sequences not as torture porn, right? And they really kind of do something kind of similar to this, where either they black out or they just kind of do like a very stylized thing that lets you know that you messed up, but doesn't have to show everything. Now let's go into a part that I really didn't like about this episode, and that's the redemption of one of the most horrific characters in the game, David. So let's check that part out.
tried to be a good father, too, but when Joyce kicked me out, I had nothing.
I was pissed off and wanted to rage.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Too much.
I'm going to tell Joyce I was wrong about you. She does love you. It's pretty obvious.
I try not to use my service as an excuse, but it's hard to come home after war.
Okay, so just to remind you, David is a character that abused both his new wife and his stepdaughter, said all kind of horrible things all through this episode. But I hated that the only options that you had to give him at that point was "I'm sorry" and or "I went overboard and I raged out and I'm gonna apologize to Joyce, who is David's I guess they were married, his a new wife that he abused. I found it really weird that you couldn't just tell him to go to hell, basically. And I see why they chose that, because in the narrative David actually saves your life. But I still think it's kind of weird to thank an abuser and say, "I'm going to apologize to the person that you abused because he saved my life." You know what I'm saying? That doesn't negate the abuse and the negativity that he did. Also, I love the fact that he's basically like, "Yeah, I don't want to use the war as an excuse, but I'm using the war as an excuse." So yeah, it was just really weird. Like, I feel like it was this forced redemption on David, and I feel like, one thing that Dote Nod kind of wanted to do is really portray, every character to be like complex and have both positives and negatives, which is good in theory, but when you're dealing with an abuser, I don't think you can really put any kind of positive spin on that, even if they quote unquote save your life. So I was really bothered by that. And thought that David should have, really shouldn't have kind of got off for his abuse of this family over the years. So now let's go into one of the most heartwarming parts, and one of the reasons I love this series so much is the friendship between Chloe and Max, which is just a great friendship between two women portrayed in a game, which sadly is not something that we see a lot of in media in general. So let's go to one of the climactic scenes between Chloe and Max.
You finally came back to me this week, and you did nothing but show me your love and friendship. You made me smile and laugh like I haven't done in years. Wherever I end up after this, in whatever reality, all those moments between us were real, and they'll always be ours. No matter what you choose, I know you'll make the right decision. Chloe, I can't make this choice. No, Max. You're the only one who can.
I just love that scene because you're basically forced to make a choice to either sacrifice your best friend or sacrifice basically most of the lives in this town that you grew up in, right? And they really write it very well so that no matter what you make, you have this very powerful scene with your best friend. And like, you're just like, I don't care about the time travel or the realities. Our choices are like ours. You really sense the love between these two characters, and I just love that. Despite all the other stuff in this game, it really is a game about friendship. And the scenes between Chloe and Max are some of the most heartwarming that I've felt in a game, and it really makes the investment that you put into the game, even some of the bad choices that you might make, it really makes those feel worth it. And it's just a very impactful game, and I highly recommend it to everyone. Of course, I got to end with a bug or a funny part of the game, and I came across this really weird bug where you're in an art gallery, and all the people that talk to you never look at you. It's the creepiest thing in the world. Check this out.
You must be the everyday hero from Blackwell. My name is Lauren Francis, and I run the media department at Detroit School of Visual Arts. I'd love to talk about...
I even try to get her to look at me, and it just doesn't happen.
Wells yet.
It's just really weird. Like, I wonder, like, maybe they just forgot about that part during the programming or the launch. It just seems really weird because otherwise the game is really good at how people kind of look at you and talk. But anyway, y'all, this has been your latest episode of Gaming Looks Good. Check out Life is Strange, awesome game, not that expensive, and I will see y'all on the flip side. Peace out.